So, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self Development with Tactics podcast. And as you might have seen before, I've just updated my MacBook, and therefore I was wondering if everything is okay and if everything is working still. And I hope it does. Therefore, I was just looking on the Open Broadcaster, which is the software that I'm using for all my videos, to see whether there were any updates or if there are any solutions for the problem I'm having, because sometimes there are some kind of glitches in the in the recording and in the video, which is something I definitely do not want to have. And I've been wondering whether everything would be working a little bit better when I'm actually when I actually do not have a second display kind of attached to this one. So because I think maybe my MacBook does have to work a little bit harder because of the second screen, and therefore I'm now trying out to not use a second screen, even though it is a little bit comfortable and it is just something good and something quite pretty comfortable. But it's definitely okay when my laptop isn't that loud. Then I will do quite everything. Quite everything. But yeah. So, just have to close the door. Close the fucking door. I'm sorry, I've closed the door. Just have to see that I'm not that caught up by the other things. The good thing about it is that I can't see myself when I'm here on the screen, but I could actually, which I'm definitely now doing. I'm putting this screen on another screen so that I actually can see whether everything is doing good or not, because I'm not quite willing. So you can see when I do this, there are some glitches, but I hope this will just then work, just normally as always. Why I've updated? Because I thought maybe my fan problem, with the loudness they have might be just, solved some kinda. It didn't, I think, even though I just think it's a little bit better than before, but they're still pretty loud. The other thing is that the program that I'm using to recording this video is just really just really takes a lot of resources. And I do have just seen that that I've actually just really kind of expanded the video recording, or the recording for the face cam. Therefore, I've just pulled it a little bit closer to the screen, or to the actual recording area, as I would say. And I hope it is a little bit better, and I think you can actually see me a little bit better and a little bit more of me, which is definitely good. If you just see my my upper body a little bit more, because I think if you just see my fucking head, this is nothing nice to look at. Or nothing good. But we go on with types of transactions, and in general with the book I'm okay and you're okay, or I'm not okay and you're okay. I don't know. I think it was I'm okay and you're okay. And we will go on with types of transactions, and I'm going to read. So, but I still, before I forget to mention, I do want to just emphasize a little bit more that I do have some other things besides the podcast and besides the YouTube videos I'm doing. I do have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you like one of these, or maybe all of these platforms, then I would pretty much invite you to go to the episode description, and there would be a link. It's a light, what's it called? Link light, I think. A link to all my social media platforms, or all my social media profiles. And there's just some kind of pretty nice interface where you can just choose and click on the thing you want to go to. I would pretty much invite you to do so if you're interested in them. But we will go on with the actual video. The only problem that I'm having, which is not the problem yet, I think, because I do just have... It's pretty pretty bright outside, so I do think that I do not need the second screen, because I just remembered I used the second screen because I was so dark, especially when I'm recording in the evening. But yeah, so Thomas Harris say their transaction analysis divides human-to-human exchanges into 6 types: withdrawal, rituals, activities, pastimes, yeah, games, and intimacy. Games are a particular type of transaction that has 2 different characteristics: an ulterior motive and a payoff. The famous book Games People Play by Eric Berne is actually only focusing on games, a very specific part of transaction analysis. My note is, so I know from the author of the summary actually, this was enlightening for me as it puts things into perspective. While I previously didn't consider Games People Play to be a good book, I then re-evaluated it again, and I will eventually read it again now that I have a broader understanding. Which is definitely a good thing in terms of all the summaries I have been reading and all the books that I've been going through with you actually, because I do think the more books I read, the more I understand them, which is definitely a good thing, and definitely a thing that helps me to really kind of go through these books with you and just get everything out of these books that they have. So withdrawal, rituals, activities, and pastimes keep people apart and stand in the way of an emotional connection. Also read Turning Towards based on Gottman's research. So Turning Towards based on Gottman's research. Sorry for reading that so shitty. Games make the relationship competitive. Yeah, okay. Intimacy is only possible with I'm okay. The author also discusses relationships and how we can improve our intimate relationships. He says that there is no simple way to define intimacy, yet we can say that intimacy is only possible when we come from an I'm okay or you're okay stance, and when there are no games and the adult is emancipated. The hippies example. There are many awesome examples across I'm okay and you're okay, and here's one I liked. A clear social example of this phenomenon is the hippie movement. The flower children extolled a life of child transactions, yet the dreadful truth began to become apparent. It's not fun to do your thing if everybody else is only interested in doing his thing. In cutting off the establishment, they cut off the parent, the disapproval, and the adult, the banal reality. But having cut off his approval, they found that they had also cut off the source of praise. I didn't get anything, but yeah. But yeah, okay. Children with child-dominated parents. When parents are dominated by their children, they can end up into struggling with their own children. Writes Thomas Harris, if the child in the mother has a strong, not okay position, and it is easily hooked by such life hitches or obstacles or disappointments as the obstinate behavior of a small child who also has a not okay child, the way is open for a takeover by the child and the parent, which triggers a regressive sequence of events with more and more archaic circuits taking over a screaming game of mine is better, with mother winning the final round with I'm bigger. Okay, I do just feel like, if yourself is childlike, and your child is obviously a child, and then it will definitely definitely come to some kind of, exchanges of, maybe not brutality, but some kind of word exchanges and, just problems in family life, I guess. Because as I know, or if I remember correctly, a child is just someone who is just taking everything like, I'm not okay and everybody is okay, and therefore they all are just, truthful, and they all have the right opinion and I'm not, and therefore they just kind of, I don't know what I want to say. I don't know. So, but he finally says, summarily, we may say that the solution to the problem of all children, regardless of their situation, is the same solution that applies to the problems of grown-ups. We must begin with the realization that we cannot change the past, and we must start where we are. We can only separate the past from the present by using the adult, which can learn to identify the recordings of the child, which is archaic fears in the recordings of the parent, which with its archaic fears, and the recordings of the parent with its disturbing replay of a past reality. And this is, at my point of view, definitely true. Just, dwelling about the past and, saying, yeah, the past is so bad, and, it doesn't get you further. And, it's okay, your past was shit, okay, but just make the present great now. The thing is, your past may be a little bit determine your present. You do have the ability to, change the future with the present, and you can control everything in the present, especially your thoughts and how you act and what you're doing. At my point of view, what you think, what you say, what you do, especially what you do and what your behavior is like, and what your habits are, just determines really the future you have. If you just eat a burger rather than vegetables, you may be feeling bad in the future for, first of all, doing that, or in terms of having or throwing up actually, or just some shit like this. So therefore, at my point of view, you should never dwell about the past. The past is the past, and it was the past. There's nothing you can do about it, but you can also use it to learn. Definitely. I don't want to say that you should definitely, or just, actually cut it out completely and be like, okay, this is something it has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with you, but just, pick the things you can learn from it, and the other shit, just leave it, because you can only change what your life is like in the present for the present, and in the present for the future, at my point of view. So they're definitely right, or he is definitely right. So Thomas Harry goes on to discuss PEG with teenagers, for which I invite you to get the book. Okay, yeah. And I do want to emphasize this point once again. These summaries are pretty great, definitely, and you can get a lot out of it in this short period of time that I'm just using or having to go through them, but they never be as valuable or as good even as the actual book. So therefore, even if I say, or if you're maybe thinking that one of these summaries isn't actually a good one, or you didn't get much out of it, it doesn't actually mean that the actual book is as bad as the summary is. The chance is pretty kind of high, I would say, because if the summary is bad or there's nothing in a summary, there might be the chance, or pretty high chance, that the actual book is shit as well, but it doesn't have to be. So psychoanalysis is parent-child transaction. Harris is highly critical of Freudian, which is from Sigmund Freud, psychoanalysis. He says that it recreates a parent-child dynamic that lasts for a long time. Transactional analysis instead has simpler and more clearly defined concepts, works quicker, and holds the patient responsible for what happens in the future, no matter what's happened in the past. If I read that correctly, or if I understood that correctly, Freud may be taking the kind of chance of the patient to really determine their life themselves, because he says that and holds the patient responsible for what happens in the future, which is definitely, I think, one of the most important things, because you do want to give your patient a chance to really determine their future, and to really let them be able to, this really, this pretty much reminds me on the whole responsibility thing that I've been talking about quite often, which is, if you do make yourself responsible for everything, you do just put yourself in a position that you actually can change everything as well. And if you're just blaming somebody else, then you're just giving somebody else the power to really just, create the future for you. And yeah. So I like that approach. He says, even if the adult in the individual gets him to the psychiatrist's office, the child soon takes over and a parent-child situation develops. The patient's child expresses feelings and anticipates a relationship with the psychiatrist's parent in a transaction of the first hour. The psychoanalysts refer to this as transference. That is, the situation provokes a transfer of feelings and related behavior from the past, when the patient was a child, into the present, in which a child and the patient responds as it once did to the authority of the parent. This unique transaction is fairly common in life, and there are elements of it present in any contact with authority, as for instance when one is stopped by a highway patrolman. Psychoanalysts maintain that the patient has improved when he has succeeded in avoiding this kind of transfer of feelings from childhood. At this point in analysis, the patient doesn't have to pick and choose what he is going to reveal about himself to his analyst. Sorry. In other words, the patient no longer must be afraid of the analyst's parent. This is referred to in traditional psychoanalysis as overcoming resistance. I do kind of get what they want to say, or what he want to say, which definitely makes sense. If you do just are the patient actually, and you kind of feel like, okay, I am not okay, but my psychiatrist, or my just the person who helps me quite I don't know what it is called, or if you do just think, yeah, he is right all the time, you basically kind of give him the opportunity or the chance to, or the power to change you, but you yourself still think that you are not okay, and therefore you just think you're not okay, and then you are not okay, and you do not give yourself the opportunity to change yourself in this certain moment, I would say. Therefore, because this is just a pretty nice point where I can say this, if I'm talking shit and if there's something you just pretty much want to tell me, and you are like, man, you're just not getting it, here's a pretty nice explanation of what it is, just text me, or just DM me on the platform you're most convenient at, so Instagram, or I don't know, Twitter or Facebook even, and feel free to do so. And as I said before, these all these links should be in the podcast description, or even in the description of this episode. If you can just go on the link, because they are copied and pasted from the YouTube video, or I've once done that. So I do not actually know if they're working that right. So therefore I've just made the link in the actual podcast description. But the author says that normal psychoanalysis is slow, while transaction analysis analyzes keeps both transference and resistance. He says that slapping people with the diagnosis does no good, and I also agree with it. And I myself also agree with it, because I think, like, if you just give them a diagnosis but not a way how they can change or how they can do better, they will definitely just be the same. If they, most of the time, just the patients do not know how to change. And if you just tell them what's wrong with them, which could be a point where they say, okay, I understand what's wrong with me, and therefore I can take action. But often, and I just feel like it, a lot of people just do not know how to change properly, or how to really get to their goal. And therefore, a real psychiatrist, who is actually helping you to change, or he's actually showing you how to change, or what to do, or what could work, actually would be a good thing. It's the same. It is actually the same thing as you go to the doctor and he says, okay, you have a sore throat and whatever, and it is actually kind of infection or whatever, but it doesn't give you anything. He just says, yeah, you have this and that, and now go. This would be the same thing, and no fucking doctor would do this, because they just see what you're having, then they just give you some pills or whatever, medicine, drugs, however it is called, and then you go home and just take these things. Actually, besides the whole doctor thing, I have been reading a book about Western medicine and Eastern medicine, so just in Asia and Asia, this kind of area, which was something that I have been quite enjoying, actually, because they have been talking about why the Western medicine is total shit, just summarized a little bit. and why the very Eastern thing is good. It made sense because they just pointed out that in the Western world we do just see that there is something wrong. Okay, you just have a sore throat, or you may have cancer or whatever, and they give you drugs to cure these things. In Asian or in Eastern medicine, they just really search for the root of the evil, to say it easily, which means that they actually look for reasons why you actually have this kind of infection or virus or whatever. This is a pretty good approach because they then show you how to not get it anymore. And only because we go to the doctor, we just know that, okay, there is something wrong with us, and then we get some medicine or drugs or whatever. But we actually do not know why it happened. Often if you ask them, they just be like, yeah, okay, I don't know, maybe this and that or whatever. But often I feel like, yeah, they don't know it themselves. So I think if it is really the truth, I don't know, it could be everything, but I do believe in it, that the Eastern medicine just seems for me to be a little more accurate, or just better in terms of that. Religions are parent-child transactions, says Tom Harris. Central to most religious practices is a child acceptance of authoritarian dogma as an act of faith with limited, if not absent, involvement of the adult. The problem that I'm still having is that I do not know, what, Pack, and I do see every time I go into the actual screen of here, the whole recording, just because you can now see, you can see my hand here, which shouldn't be the case. Parent, child, adult psychology. I do want to look this up. You hear this? This is actually my neck. So the child state consists of parts of ourself which hark back to our childhood. Makes sense. It is childlike but not childish. In this state reside in intuition, creative and spontaneous drive, and enjoyment. Okay. The parent state reflects the absorption over the years of the influences of our actual parents. So I always thought the child would be the actual kind of absorption of our real parents, which is now a good thing. So the child itself is, so I do have to, it is childlike but not childish, which means that we have fun, we are creative, spontaneous, we are just kind of children. It makes sense. But the parents reflects the absorption over the years of the influence of our actual parents and of parent and authority figures such as teachers, bosses, and so on. It has two functions. One is to enable people to be better at actual parents, to be better actual parents of the children, and the other is to enable many responses to life to be made automatically. That's the way it's done, thereby freeing the adult from making innumerable trivial decisions. I get it, which is definitely something I totally hate. When people just say, this is the way you should do it, and this is the way it is done, and now make it like this. For me, it is total bullshit, because I always think like, okay, this is your way of doing this certain task or this certain stuff, but it doesn't have to be my way. If I'm just, more convenient by doing it in another way, and then I'm even faster by doing it in another way, why shouldn't I do it? For me, all these generalizations and all these sayings, like, you do have to read 200 pages a day to actually get successful, are total shit for me. Because, if you can't read and if you do not like to read, why wouldn't you then just use audiobooks instead, or just some other information sources instead of reading? I hate these generalizations. These make no fucking sense. The adult state is where we hope to be as adults. It is our adult selves dealing with the vicious is VECESSEI, sorry, so VICISSITUDES of everyday life. It also has the function of regulating the activities of the parent and child and mediating between them. Byrne, it is actually from Byrne, okay, uses this model of the personality to inform his theory of transactional analysis, which is just the study of the transactions, the communication, the relationship between people. And this is actually a great site. If you just type in parent-child adult psychology and click on the very first page, you can just see a pretty nice overview of this. I'll go on with the actual summary. I still don't get it fully, to be honest, but I will just work with this now because I don't want to waste your time because I'm actually 25 minutes in already. But it also makes sense because it always just some kind of, if the child is in play, it always just boils down to really not being able to change your own future. Or it seems to be for me like this, because it's the same way in religion. And I don't care if you believe in religion, I think it's totally okay. I do as well. And I don't care what religion you're believing in. As long as it helps you and as long as it makes you happy, everything is okay for me. The thing is, okay, should you take drugs because they make you happy? I think I wouldn't just suggest, and I wouldn't just say, okay, do it, if it's making you happy, just do it, whatever. I wouldn't say that either. But yeah, since religious people have in a religious dogma such a strong parent within them, they are often anxious in scorekeeping their behavior against the parent's dogma. The confession of the child to a religious priest says, I'm sorry, I'm not okay, please forgive me, I'm awful. Totally. A confession without chains is a game, says Thomas Harris. Instead, the confession of an adult makes a critical assessment of where change is possible and looks for ways to make the change happen. I get it. That's totally the thing. Because adults do have the ability themselves to change themselves, totally. But a child does just have to have somebody else to really change themselves, which is not good because you then just give the power to somebody else to make everything for you or to change your whole future, which is definitely something you shouldn't be doing. He also thoroughly discusses the games that sinners play in relation to religion, all of which are extremely interesting. And I do just reminded myself on really not going through this whole summary anymore. Not anymore in terms of completely not, but the next episode will actually be something else. Because I actually wanted to do it like, okay, I do have that episode with this book, and the next episode will be another book. So to just mix it up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting for me, especially, and for you actually as well. I have been thinking about it quite often before I just made the quiet decision that I should make it because it's better for me as well. Because if I do just have such an incredibly difficult summary like PEC or like I'm okay and you're okay, it is definitely good to have just one kind of simple summary just besides that one. And it is also good for you. If you do just not are interested in this one, you can just look for the next episode that I'm going to upload today, which might be a book that you are more interested in than this one. Yeah. So PEC and power relations. I found very interesting and highly relevant to the topics I write here on the power moves, that some people resist giving the parent role in relationship. Thomas Harris says, some parents unknowingly undermine treatment efforts because they really do not want to give up the parent-child relationship. So some parents unknowingly undermine treatment efforts because they really do not want to give up the parent-child relationship. The position of power is threatened when the adolescent starts operating in the adult. Unless the parents are equally adult, the transaction will cross. I do quite get it. Totally the first one. I do kind of believe that a lot of parents do not want to be quite giving their authority position away, which is which totally makes sense. Every boss would make it as well or wouldn't do it as well. So therefore it makes sense for me. The thing is, I do understand that also this could not be good for the child, and especially for the child, um, because maybe, I don't know, I can't think of a real example right now, but yeah, and more, and these parents see, was this actually it? This was then actually it. Okay, just and more, these parents see autonomy in their youngsters as a threat to their control of him and may decide they liked it better the way it was before treatment. Familiar miseries may seem more comfortable to frightened parents than the risk of trusting their teenager to develop their own inner controls. Which is something that I'm quite in a position in, because I'm definitely a person who is just thinking for themselves. Because I feel like, okay, only because something may be working for one person or one person is doing it that way doesn't mean that I have to do it this way as well. I just, look for certain ways and certain possibilities for myself and see, just what works the best for me and where I'm the fastest at or the best at or what works the best for me. Awesome deeply, I would clearly suggest you to actually buy the book. It's actually the first time I've been saying this, but it would be good for me as well, because I do think in the actual book itself they quite really explained it a little bit more and a little bit more deeply, definitely, and I think that you should, or actually are then really able to understand it way more than maybe you are right now. And this is, maybe I'm only speaking about myself, because I'm not getting it that good or that well or whatever. And so therefore it would actually be good to go through the actual book. So I'm okay and you're okay criticism, as a book which helped me better understand the world, myself, and actively helped shed some parental baggage and improve. Well, I'm a bit of a cheerleader. Yet the book also presents a lot of mistakes and generalization, as does transactional analysis. The moment transaction analysis tried to shoehorn every behavior into its model, it became obvious that not everything fit into it. And that's how it is for most models. Reality is too complex to feed everything into one model. So when transactional analysts represent alcoholism as a life script, for example, they only made themselves sound a bit ridiculous. Yeah. I'm okay, you're okay also presents plenty of exaggerations. It ends up sounding a lot like cheerleading for the method instead of presenting facts and ideas. And that's not how a scientist should approach things, definitely. Real life applications. The real life applications of I'm okay and you're okay are multiple and potentially life changing, including learn to see the child in you. Are you still dependent to mother seeking her approval, or are you dependent to someone else seeking their approval? Yeah, learn to see people taking a parent role against you. In life, you might cross your path with people who are trying to take a parent role over you to make you feel guilty or make you act as they wish and please. Learn to see the things of a judgmental parent. Are you still listening to old parent data? Your parents might have taught you a value that are not good for you to be obey. Examine them and drop them. Learn to see the child in others. As you learn to approach life with your adult first, learn to see the child in others. Do not engage people who comes at you with the child first. Definitely. And this was actually something that I've been thinking about last night, actually. To be really honest, quite sounds a little bit funny, but it's the truth. It's the actual thing that you should not ever once really respond to a really just emotional person with the same emotions, which means that if someone is just really angry and really approaching you with in an angry way, you should never ever just respond with an angry way, because then everything would explode at my point of view, and everything would go in totally the wrong way, because if just anger against anger, and then why would you? And I think you can calm it down even definitely better if you just are calm and you're not angry as the other person. Yeah. And I would definitely say, in terms of the old parent data, this is important. And I think this is something that a lot of just people in the wealth and mindset and money mindset area have been talking about so often. And it makes sense for me, because if your parents tell you, yeah, okay, money is bad, being rich is bad, and whatever, you just say it again, and you just feel and think it as well, which makes sense, because you are really the pretty much you are pretty much your parents, because from, I think it's from 0 to 7, you pretty much just kind of absorb everything they do, which would make sense, because you feel like, okay, I'm not okay, but they are okay, and just seek approval and whatever, and they just definitely approve what they kind of feel also like to be right. You're not like in your really early childhood that you say, okay, I do it in another way because I think it's working better. I think often, definitely, if you're getting older, you definitely do some things that are just working for you. But I think you just pretty much absorb in the really early days what your parents tell you and what they think is good or not good. This is definitely something I have dropped, because if I feel like, okay, this is some bullshit, I won't do it, I definitely won't do it. So the cons of the book: jumping to conclusions. Rather than typical of many psychoanalysts, Dr. Harris often jumps to conclusions without prefacing that he has no data to back it up, and that it is a hunch more than a certainty. For example, the mobility which gives birth to the adult becomes reassuring in later life when a person is in distress. He goes for a walk to clear his mind. Linking motility of the child to reassurance and later the going for a walk of the adult has a way of regaining certainty is certainly plausible, but it seems a huge stretch for me. This is something a lot of, I think, just authors in this area and this just genre do have to deal with, because it is something that I've been thinking about, making too big jumps and stretch it too far, and I just tend to do it in my post as well. And I always just write down in the caption. So by the way, if you're just familiar with my Instagram account or general my social media accounts, always look at the caption, always read the caption, because it is important, and often it is just better information than the post itself. Why? Because I do not just can put every single paragraph or just everything on this fucking post. It won't work, and I even don't want it to work, because it looks just awful on the other side. But I do just try to put everything important into the picture itself, because I know that people will just don't read the fucking caption. I won't do it. I often don't do it. I look at the picture and that's it. And therefore, actually, a video is a good thing, because people, watch the video. You do not have much to say in the caption, and so everything is good. Fitting the world into the model, is it? No, it's not that much anymore. Fitting the world into the model instead of the other way around. One of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of relying too much on models to describe reality is that people often end up stretching reality just to fit into their model. Definitely. Which is what happens sometimes for this text as well. Once I observed an 11-year-old nonverbal autistic boy evidence the seeming perception of the "I'm not okay, you are not okay" position by an intense repeated hitting with his fist, first his concealer and then his own head. It was as if he were acting out his it was if he were acting out his view of life. You're not okay and I'm not okay. Let's smash both of us. I definitely know why the author of this article of this summary actually pointed it out, because it doesn't particularly make any sense. Because if the boy is really autistic, they may just do it because they are autistic, not because they think you are not okay and I'm not okay. But I think, it's just they're handicapped and whatever, and so therefore they do it. But I'm interested, or just looking forward what he has to say. So to me, this is extremely interesting, but also sounds like a possible instance of over-interpretation. The boy might simply have problems that are not necessarily a consequence of I'm not okay or you're not okay position. Yeah, definitely. A few major mistakes. The book makes some obvious mistakes that, in light of more recent development, we know not to be true. For example, it says that psychopaths develop from a position of I'm okay, you're not okay, bettering, but that's not true. Psychopaths are born. Okay, didn't know that. Clearly didn't know that. Unrealistic view of I'm okay and you're okay. Albeit transaction analysis should be all about games, it is simplistic in its approach that I'm okay and you're okay, people don't play games. Some people might play less games, but we almost all wear at least some kind of mask and play some kind of games. Okay. Now I get the whole playing games thing. I always thought like board games. That is completely shit. I definitely thought like, they just talk about board games and just games like hide and seek, but I haven't thought about like games, just acting some kind of differently. Oh my god. Dogmatic, I'm okay and you're okay, like many others. Psychoanalysis books leaves little room to doubt. It links different phenomena, jumps to conclusions, and presents as if it were the only and ultimate truth. Which is, I think, always the problem if somebody's just really into their own opinion or into their own model of things or their worldview, and that they just, put everything as if it is just the only one, the only truth, and whatever. This is something that you could just think of. Sometimes conservative, albeit it doesn't sound conservative as it's highly critical of religion. A few passages are very conservative and judgmental. For example, writes Thomas Harris, sexual intercourse without personal intimacy can only result in the loss of self-esteem. This is true also in marriage. I don't think that's true at all, or at the very least, certainly not true in all the cases. Yeah, I think this is also some kind of generalization, which is something you should definitely not do, because it's like, you're putting everything into one basket, and not everybody is just the same. We're all individuals and we all act differently, even though we might be fitting in some kind of model. So some people might be fitting in some kind of model, but definitely not everyone. And pros. I won't list all the pros here, but here is the biggest one: enlightening. In all its limitations, transaction analysis and this book in particular are enlightening. Something I haven't yet outlined and which I deeply appreciate is this: great explanation of the connection between internal confidence and games. I find the idea that people in not okay positions play more games to be quite often true, in that of the characteristics of high value man and high value woman, instead of playing less games and being more direct. And that stems from an internal confidence and a rather high self-esteem that allows them not to hide themselves. The review: I am forever grateful to this book and to transaction analysis. Not only it expanded my understanding and my own research on human behavior, but it also helped me understand myself much better, and in many ways acquired me and upgraded me as well. I do want to quite invite you to just look for an actual video, for an actual summarizing video for this one, because through this summary and my content, you might not have understood it, and I will definitely just look for a video as well for myself and just go through it to actually, pretty much understand it myself a little bit better. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope you're happy, you get the success, the health, the wealth. I hope you're giving back something to the world and to people, and I hope you have a great legacy. And with this being said, as always, I wish you a wonderful day. I see you.